You're listening to the Renegade Blitz, the best podcast for Steelers fans by Steelers fans. Follow us on Twitter at Renegade Blitz, at RBlitzPod, and at Blitz Videos. Read articles on RenegadeBlitz.com, like us on Facebook, and subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast app.
And welcome back to the Renegade Blitz. I'm Ty Polk with Chris Ward and Brandon Walker. It's a celebration, at least for us. We have officially reached 100 episodes, part of the Renegade Blitz over the course of 2 seasons, of course, having 2 episodes, 3 if you really count it during the week. And now we've ventured into our second off season with our 100th episode. So thank you for all of you supporting us, whether through day one or picking up along the way. We really do appreciate it. But some somber news to begin this. Of course, as everyone knows, that Dwayne Haskins passed away last weekend at the age of 24, just a few weeks short of his 25th birthday. And it's just a double whammy of just all around awful, because most of the Steelers team was in Florida training alongside what's at least presumed to be the starter at this point, Mitch Trubisky and Mason Rudolph, and all, but with all the other wide receivers and running backs on the team. There was sayings that Dwayne Haskins' car may have ran out of gas out on the highway, and he was trying to walk across a restricted highway access point, for lack of a better term, and he was struck by a dump truck, and it's just all around horrible. As you can see, so many people across the league, whether they had ties to Ohio State or not, were mourning over the death of this young man, which is weird to say at my young age, but he is that very much that young, passing away. And I have so much to talk about with this, but first I want to get you guys' thoughts on just an all-around awful tragedy.
Yeah, just like you mentioned, just horrible, what happened, down in South Florida with, they're training together, Trubisky and a whole bunch of skill players were down there training. And then, I've seen on Instagram, he posted a photo of him at where they're training at and everything. And then, the next day, you wake up and you hear the news, of him dying in an accident. It just shows how fragile life is. And it just, my deepest condolences go out to Haskins, his family, and all his friends and teammates.
All right, I'm going to do something briefly. I'll let you go, Ty, then I'll expand on it. Number one, it takes to my perspective that a young man has passed away. He's 24. My brother is 24. Couldn't imagine seeing him, anything like that happening to him. He seemed like a guy that was growing as a man. I know he wasn't perfect in the time in the league. I mean, his time and the way he conducted himself at previous stops, I could, he was a kid that achieved his ultimate dream of playing football for a living. And it would be a what-if scenario. Could he have turned his career around? But that's not the time or place for that. It's not the time or place for it. And you just got to appreciate life. You never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, and his loss, really, because, of course, you're from PG County, where Haskins came from. And also, one of my friends, Stan Beckton, who does great work with his podcast, The Nightstand, and he also works for NCAA.com covering the FCS and HBCU teams in football. He's a guy that we should probably have on sometime before this draft. He was very close to Haskins. He said on an Instagram his page honoring him that he was one of his 2 closest friends. They played together in high school ball. Stan went on to play football at the Division III level right here in Pittsburgh at CMU as a cornerback, and knowing Stan for the short time, covering youth football, but also being broadcast partners for kickball and one high school football game. It was just devastating to see that from his page, and I remember seeing Haskins wish him a happy birthday, and I would be like, "Oh wow, he knew Dwayne Haskins." It was something that we never really talked about. So immediately, whenever I seen that Haskins passed away, and then he tweeted, and I was like, "Oh, that's right. Oh my God!" But even then, I had no idea of how much Haskins really meant to him. He mentions him as someone that helped him in his career, and again, he's an absolute rock star. He does great things with the NCAA. He was the plug for me with the FCS. I followed as much as I could, but yeah, he was doing great work there. He would be covering NCAA games in the middle of calling youth football games. So I know that he's driven, and I'm pretty sure with how much Dwayne was involved, especially whenever he went back to whenever he was signed by Pittsburgh last year. I know that they got to catch up more, and as much as he could with the hectic schedule of being an NFL player, but it was just all around like heartbreak for me as a Steelers fan. But whenever I seen that, it was like you might as well have just like shattered it into a million pieces after that. Just awful stuff. And my best wishes to the friends, the family, and also teammates, whether current and former, in the case of Stan, because that guy, he spoke glowingly about him on his Instagram page, saying that people didn't know really about the work he did in silence, and saying that he was going to shock the world. And even with like we kind of were critical about him on this podcast, but we knew that there was some talent that was just waiting to bubble at the surface, and he was just waiting for another opportunity. And it truly is sad that he didn't get that another chance in the preseason, another chance potentially as a quarterback in this league. That's just beyond sad, because his story was still being written.
Yeah.
From all the interviews and some of the videos that really the Ohio State, a Big Ten network really had a video of him and his sister a couple years ago, and he was really close with his sister, and he just he was always looked like he was in a good mood and stuff. All his teammates did that. He was always smiling. He was always supportive of his teammates and everything, and it's just a shame. He had the future ahead of him. He was going to compete for the starting quarterback position this year. He's training down in Florida, and it's just tragic, really. It just, like I mentioned before, just like you just gotta appreciate every day and cherish life, because you never know when it's going to be taken away.
Yeah, and what happened, like, it's rough to see, and obviously I actually followed him when he first got into Ohio State, when he first got into the NFL. I never thought that he really had a fair shake. I thought, I said I wasn't going to go too deep. But he just never really had a fair shake in Washington at first. Second year, okay, he did some things, and when he came here, he grew into a man. It seemed like he was growing into a man. He seemed like he humbled. He grew up, and I thought he could have had a shot to start again, rather to be Pittsburgh or it would be in somewhere else. I thought he had a chance to make it because he had the arm talent. He definitely had the arm talent, and not going to be fair because we have people going to be out there to say they're putting him now in the Jamarcus Russell, Johnny Manziel category, and that's not fair to him, and that's not fair to his character.
Yeah.
It was a real shame.
Two different situations.
It was a real shame to see some of the way Adam Schefter tweeted the news, and Gil Brandt. I have no idea what he was thinking when on the NFL.
They need to drag
NFL radio.
They need to drag him to the retirement home. I'm sorry.
I don't even know why he's still on there. I mean, I just don't get I don't know how he's fired. Well, he wasn't fired either. I knew Schefter was going to release apology, which he did on 2 days later.
Brandt did release an apology on Twitter, but
yeah, I know that
he tried to literally stretch it into some sort of thing where he shouldn't have entered the draft.
Yeah,
too early, and I'm just like, look. If you enter in, you enter in. That's how it is. I mean, you could always say that, but that was just not the time for that. Dude's dead. Come on.
No.
And then he said he was jogging on the highway, which he didn't even know. They don't even know what was going what happened, the details. So for him to say that to jump to conclusions is just crazy, really. And I don't know. I thought. I guess he's still there. I don't know what's going on. I know I seen the apology too, but I don't know what goes through people. Schefter, I think he rushes too much sometimes, and he's like a robot at some. Like he can't separate football and human beings sometimes.
I don't know. He used to. I like Schefter's work whenever I was much younger in the NFL Network, but I guess I don't know what it is. I'm not going to speculate on anything with ESPN or something like that because that's his career field, and that's a field that I wouldn't mind being in, maybe in different ways.
We all wouldn't mind.
I know Ian Rappaport he was on with Pat McAfee, and Pat McAfee was saying basically how can you be like a robot when someone passed away, and he asked how Rappaport, how he went through the details and everything. Rappaport said he was at his son's baseball game and he heard, that Haskins passed away, and someone said, you might want to look into this. And he said that he didn't feel comfortable reporting on someone's death, so he waited for the Steelers to release a statement. So I thought that was interesting, just the way how Rappaport handled it.
You don't need to break news on a death.
Yeah, it's not. It's all about having journalistic integrity. And it seems like let me be careful because we all would like to have jobs there. We ain't gonna lie, but you get paid $9 million a year. You got to be more responsible.
And this is like how many mistakes made in the last. How many mistakes has it been just like in the last couple months?
Tom Brady, he jumped the gun on that.
Deshaun Watson, the way he
Sean Watson, the Dalvin Cook,
the email story where he said Mr. Editor or something like that.
Yeah, but that was he was run out the building by whatever's going on with the Washington Commanders situation. I'll give him somewhat of the benefit of the doubt with that.
And then you can go way back, Jason Pierre-Paul.
With his fireworks explosion thing.
But that was like years ago, though.
Yeah, but still, that was like the first one I was like, this guy is kind of crazy for doing this.
I'll put it to you like this. When you start, it's something that I struggle even with trying to write here because we Chris, me and you both went through the Point Park thing. I don't like injecting my opinion out there necessarily like that. Whenever I could just, there's no issue with these guys with Schefter on his end if he just says, according to reports, and it has been confirmed, Dwayne Haskins has passed away at the age of 24. Send tweet. No need to talk about what his career was like, or anything like that. Just report the facts. Don't put anything about some dude's career and keep it moving.
Yeah, and here's the difference, because I've seen people talking about in the comments that when you're writing an article, you could mention that stuff like things didn't work out in Washington or whatever. But when you're releasing the news of someone's death, and he was like, I think he was the first one that reported it.
Yeah.
Like for him to say that is kind of like in an article, he didn't separate like the Twitter and then like writing an article when you're talking about his events of being an NFL quarterback. But, you know, for him, the first thing to say is just, I don't know what was going through his mind. I know he deleted it and, you know, he made an apology and everything. And, you know, they're not going to get rid of him, obviously, for a couple mistakes and everything that he's been they're paying him.
There's no one else they could find to do that job. They could probably snatch away Rappaport in the future, but let's face it.
Like, I mean, like, you know, Schefter.
Who do they want to put out there right now? Because even his contemporary John Clayton's also
equal
good.
that money, huh?
I mean, he's a face that people know, and he's a good, you know, obviously to get to that point, he's a great reporter, but really, like, I mean, they could put anyone in there because, like, the agents just feed him all the news and stuff.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, were it so easy, there'd be a lot. They probably would have switched them out after the Washington football team situation, man.
Yeah, I think.
Trust me, knowing, like, even having, like, the very basic, minute sources like that and building relationships, Schefter's been doing that for years.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
right now, the only guy that I could really think, there's only two people I could think of. It's Flora and Rappaport. I really don't know anyone else in the NFL circle.
Put Jeremy Fowler up there. They can promote him to that position.
Fowler could be good, maybe in the future.
Yeah.
Who?
But
Jeremy Fowler,
the former Steelers reporter.
Graziani.
Yeah.
Dan Graziani, you got him. Mina Kai.
Yeah, Justina Anderson.
She was already there. She's not even there.
She's out.
I know, but she would make a good. I think she's pretty.
They
good.
don't really like double hiring people unless they're like absolute like superstars,
like Stephen A.
Stephen A. Smith.
That's the only person that I know they did that for. They had Stephen A.
Keith Olbermann, but that's different.
So Schefter, he just can keep on messing up and he just keep his job, I guess.
Until they can find someone that can do it, that has enough sources like that where they can break it first.
Unless he messes up like incredibly.
Unless someone comes out there and starts breaking it before Schefter, because that's how ESPN did it. They did it with Woj in NBA. He used to do it for Yahoo Sports. Now he does it for ESPN, and I guess they're just waiting for Shams to start beating him on the reg so they can replace him. That's how it is. But let's move on. And
don't they only compete with like a couple other people though?
Yeah, but once you consistent, that's the one thing. That's the one thing about news, especially in sports journalism, because it's usually looked at as like fun stories in a way. It's not. They want breaking news, not spraining news, man. That's how it is. So maybe one day you could be them. But let's move on.
Yeah.
We kind of open it up with such a sad subject and then kind of turn it into just nastiness where it's hard to really talk about, well, what now for the Steelers in their quarterback situation, because you don't really want to talk about it like this. But Josh Dobbs moved on. He's now with the Browns?
Yeah.
Wow. And he was teasing a move. And obviously, the quarterback room was very crowded, but hey, good for him. You never know with how the Browns are feeling about Mayfield, and he just had his podcast drop. He has to fight off Jacoby Brissett. I wouldn't say it's out the realm of possibility.
3 black quarterbacks in the room, ain't that something? But that's neither here. But yeah, I'm happy for Dobbs. I think he can just hang around a few more years and he'll be a coach right away. I could see him actually, if he catches on with a certain tree, be a young up and coming coach. So just keep on hanging on the league, keep learning and do your thing. You'll have a bright future in this league.
I know Ben said he used to go to him for, updates or, some pointers, what he was seeing on the field and everything. So, yeah, maybe, quarterback coach or offensive coordinator. I don't know, but he might go to NASA because he's aerospace engineer.
I mean, there's a lot of things you could do with a degree like that. You can go to NASA, but you can also try your luck and try to be something better than Matt Patricia. But hey, I mean, he can go wherever he wants. I mean, after all, we got an engineer running a high school team here in Pittsburgh, so I mean, it's possible.
Who's that? Who's
John LaDon, the former head coach of Penn Hills, he's now at Pine Richland.
Oh, right. He's an engineer. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Master's in it. Really nice story. Good guy, too. Talking to him before. But, yeah. So, there's a lot of situations. You never know. Josh Dobbs could end up being the next head coach of an XFL team. Like, Hines Ward and Rod Woodson were announced earlier today. So, it's got me interested.
Where are their head coaches at?
The XFL's reboot.
They don't.
I thought you were talking about USFL. All right.
The well, they got that's about to come up in a few weeks, and I guess.
So I'm guessing this is a 2023 thing.
Yeah, they're coming back.
Okay.
Yeah, so congratulations to them on getting their head coaching jobs. I'm more interested in Hines because Hines is a coach currently right now. Yes, Rod did dabble a little bit more with it, but Hines, this could help him in the future with trying to secure a head coaching job somewhere. Rod, I feel like, is a name.
I could actually see Hines being more of a good college coach, head coach than a pro head coach.
He interviewed with the Texans back in January.
Oh yeah, but
I was surprised because he didn't have any head
Texans are a lame duck franchise, man, when it comes to that.
But maybe this will be a stepping stone for him.
Man, you said the Texans aren't a real franchise. They aren't.
I said lame duck franchise. I feel like anyone that becomes the head coach there is not lasting long, especially the way they did Collie. But I mean, I give Lovie Smith all the props for coming back.
No, but still, they had to hire him though. They had to hire Lovie Smith because you knew who they was going to hire. Because if they hired the other person, McCown, bruh, I think white coaches would have raised holy hell if that happened.
I'll put it to you like this: we'll translate that into other coaching news because it also ascertains to the lawsuit for Flores and stuff like that. They had a few additions with that. I mean, you'll take them as you can get them, but I wouldn't trust any NFL owner that isn't a Rooney. There's a lot of. I would rather be the head coach for the Dallas Cowboys right now because at least I know it's basically Jerry's team, but as long as you're not absolutely awful, you could still stick around in this league for a long while.
Yeah.
But yeah, speaking of which, that lawsuit now has moved up a little bit more. Now the former head coach out in Arizona, Wilkes,
Steve Wilkes.
Steve Wilkes is a part of it, and also who else is a part of it?
Ray Horton.
Ray Horton. Yeah.
Who happens to be an ex-defensive back coach for the Steelers.
So it's getting a little bit spicy out there, but also
Steelers podcast, the Relam, I think Steelers Relam, Mike Mularkey in like October 2020. They asked him about his biggest regret in his career or something like that, and it was he talked about how he basically got the job with the Titans in 2016, and all the other interviews were sham interviews, and he said he felt really guilty being a part of that process. And then they found the lawsuit. I have no idea how they found it.
I think they looked through any loss for any podcast with anyone that was involved in a coaching circle and I gotta admit, this is like some real like clever digging. I know, Brandon, you're working at a law firm right now. You respect that, especially some paralegal got a huge raise.
I did see that like Colin Dunlap mentioned it when it happened a couple years ago, but like no one picked it up until now. Like when they released it, that they heard this and everything.
Yeah. Oh gosh, but yeah, like Yeah, this is going to be a very interesting, I think it's just heated up when you got. I think it's going to be another couple, 3 coaches is going to be a part of this by the end of this off season.
Anyone that you're thinking off the top of your head? I feel like you have to look at Bieniemy potentially.
Bieniemy, yeah, he's one.
I can't really think of
because he had a couple of opportunities, which I think is just sham interviews. Because especially Wilkes, the way that happened, that was like
Wilkes got screwed
badly. So they ripped down your roster. It was basically a Cully situation.
Oh, you want to know who? Jim Caldwell. He's a guy that could be at it. Yeah, Caldwell could be at it.
Caldwell could be one. This is interesting.
It really makes you go back and think about that stuff, like how we've known that in some circles that a lot of those Rooney Rule interviews are basically just to satisfy a requirement, but now that we're really like putting a magnifying glass on it, it's going to be interesting to look back at a lot of these hires, especially in failed positions. One, you could argue the new head coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with how Gase got brought in, but Gase wasn't.
He's in a good spot now, so I
think he'll be fine. But if he wants to add himself with it, I'm pretty sure the Glazers, they got nothing to hide because they've been really championing a lot of the black coaches over the last few hires they had. They had Lovie Smith and Raheem Morris, so
right.
I don't think they really have anything to hide.
Like I said, the last podcast, he deserves another shot too because at a head coaching job. Because just put it this way: if McDaniels could get a good coaching job, I think he can too. Yeah, Josh McDaniels, not the little IT worker at a law firm that coaches Miami guy. But
speaking of which, that we actually didn't mention it. This is what I wanted to talk about. They're saying that the lawsuit by Flores effectively blocked Tom Brady's plan to become first a part owner of the Miami Dolphins and then potentially come back and play for the Dolphins. That was a very interesting thing that came out of there. It effectively got railroaded by that entire process.
Knowing that owner, I'm not surprised that was drawn up. He's a shady owner too. He's one that needs to get out of there along with others.
I don't know what's up with Miami, Florida sports team owners outside the Arisons and whoever is running, outside of the hire of Dale Talon for the Florida Panthers. Yeah. But I really don't know what's up here because Miami's people down there with the Marlins, there was a lot of talk about them. They would win championships and effectively gut the roster back.
Immediately. I remember that one. It was like, are you kidding me? Just totally gutted the roster.
I know we say a lot about Pittsburgh's baseball ownership around here, but I'd like to believe Nutting wouldn't do that, but he probably would. But there's a lot of systemic issues that we could talk if we create a baseball podcast.
Oh yeah, we could talk about that. But this is what before we go on, because this is going to be a smorgasbord podcast. Anyway, this is what baseball started last. Their opening day starting pitcher. I read for the Pirates. I read his stats. He went 5-13 with over 6 ERA. That's how you do it. That's your starting pitcher, opening day starting pitcher.
And they have the nerve to tell me that they finally they decide to lock up their third baseman and say, okay, this is where we stop and start moving forward with the rebuild. Here's our piece. And I'm just like, I'll believe it when I see it.
And I don't even think he saw that anyway. What is I'm like, him? He batted 257 with 6 home runs and I don't know how many RBIs. I just know that he batted 250 and had 6 home runs. And you want to give him $80 million?
Yeah, he's no Andrew McCutcheon, not at all. But I wish him all the best. But what else do we want to talk about before we turn this into the Renegade Bunt podcast?
There's really, I mean, this is the quarterbacks visiting for pre-draft visits. Carson Strong was for a visit today with the Steelers, and then Matt Corral has a visit tomorrow. And then I guess Malik Willis is coming next week. But Mel Kiper had his mock draft released this morning. He had Kenny Pickett going to the Steelers at 20th overall. And he also had a receiver going, Alabama receiver going to the Steelers in the second round. I'm looking up the name real quick.
Jamison Williams?
No, it was the other one. Where is it?
Well, as you're looking him up, I'll say this. I'll take
John Mitchie, the third?
Mitchie, yeah.
So
I'll take anyone. I'll take anyone that's in that factory called the University of Alabama.
Yeah, I mean, they need a receiver. Second round, third round is usually where they get their receivers. I wouldn't mind that. I mean, I don't know. What do you think about Pickett if he falls to 20th overall?
I keep on hearing so much about him going potentially to Carolina, and I think New Orleans wants to probably at least shore up themselves in case Jameis Winston isn't the guy. So I look at NFC South locations for him.
Yeah, he visited with the Panthers today, Pickett.
Yeah, Pickett at 20. I guess the Yinzers wants to have that occur, but I don't know.
I don't want to put him into a situation where he gets Jimmy Clausen.
Yeah, he might. You know what? I thought about that. I don't think he's going to go in the first round. There's going to be somebody that's going to slip, and I think it's going to be him.
Kuiper was saying that he thinks that that the best case scenario for Pickett is Derek Carr, and his floor for Pickett is Andy Dalton type. I don't know what you guys think about.
Andy Dalton has a floor ain't bad.
Dalton was pretty good. I think if he was in I mean, Cincinnati was about as good as a situation you could have, but I think if he was in a situation that was maybe with a slightly higher ceiling.
Kuiper also said that that Pickett falls to
slightly higher floor. I'm getting my room terms mixed up, but regardless, I think if he was in a slightly better situation, because
that's pretty good.
I mean they need someone. Cincinnati always needs someone that could go out there and break a game, and Joe Burrow can break a game if you let him. So, with a guy with Dalton, I was always I was never really in worry about him potentially going off. It was the same thing with a lot of AFC North quarterbacks. Even Flacco, at his best, I never really felt like he could break a game. Lamar Jackson can break a game. Joe Burrow can break a game. Baker Mayfield could sprain a game, but Deshaun Watson can break a game.
Yeah, all three of them. The Steelers don't have one.
They need a game breaker, and the best bet is Willis. But the Steelers have also been in the move of potentially moving up. There has been talk with both the Saints and the Steelers making plans to move their way up in the draft.
They made that odd trade, though, with the Eagles. So they're making a move.
Yeah,
I don't know where they...
He also said that that Pickett, he thinks he has a little bit more upside than Mitch Trubisky. So I thought that was interesting how he worded a little bit more upside. I mean, if you're going to draft him at 20th overall and he's a little bit more upside, I mean, I don't know if he means that like right now or like in the future.
Pickett has a lot of good things for him. He was the best. He was tied with Bryce Young for being the best quarterback with touchdowns while being blitzed. And as it stands right now, the Steelers need someone that can evade the blitz. And Kenny Pickett has done good enough in college to evade the blitz. Is it going to be different potentially in the NFL? He's not getting away with those fake slides. We all know that.
No.
But if he... I just don't like the situation at 20. If the Steelers were at 32, well, that means they had to win the Super Bowl or get a pick somewhere off of Los Angeles at the time. I would be like, you know what? Any other time, that's the Lamar Jackson situation where you have the extra year if he goes out and shows out.
Yeah. I mean,
that's really it.
I wouldn't. Who are the quarterbacks in 2023 that's supposed to be coming out?
They're saying Bryce Young, CJ Stroud.
That's the kid for Ohio State, correct?
Yeah.
Yes. And
like
who knows?
any of these Ohio State quarterbacks ever work out. But that's beside the point.
There's another Pittsburgh kid in Slovis they're looking at.
Oh yeah.
Hold up. I seen him like he was. I mean, I know Slovis. You talking. I read the mock drafts last year. He was supposed to be a top 10 pick this year.
So was Spencer Rattler.
And Rattler. And they ain't even at the schools that they played for anymore. They had to go to the transfer portal.
Slovis did pretty well at USC. Rattler was just not good.
He was a...
But even the quarterback to replace Rattler, I bet he's wishing that he stuck around in Oklahoma after all that. But even the quarterback to replace Rattler is at
USC.
USC. Fight on, baby. But yeah.
Yeah, that's...
So who knows?
Well, he just followed the coach that he was.
Yeah.
So what?
That was a following thing. But hey, it'd be like that.
They definitely do.
There's a lot of speculation and stuff like that. That's why I get the Steelers going after a guy right now, because you never know what happens in the future. What if Young takes a step back? What if Stroud takes a step back? What if the guys that replaced them in there are not considered quality quarterbacks you could go out in the draft for? Where they could potentially be picking for a quarterback, or where they'll have to pick for a quarterback, because you never know. So I get someone could step up. There's guys in this draft right now who you could say have stepped up, and people aren't exactly looking at them fondly right now. Kenny Pickett, if he goes last year, is somewhere in the 4th or 5th round. He's going to Indianapolis or something like that.
Yeah.
So who's to say year to year what could happen? So I get it in a way why if you really like a guy, you better get him now, because you don't know what it is next year. There could be a new need that comes up where the Steelers have to focus on getting this position over even a quarterback, though that's very unlikely in this league.
Very. But how
you never know.
I'm just saying.
Their BPA so much about it. What the best pick available is not the quarterback, even though they need it. But you never know.
You're right, but I don't care if you don't have the guy. If you get your quarterback, I get it. I understand. I might sound like I'm contradicting myself, but you get your quarterback. I don't care. If you see a quarterback you like that fits your system, draft him every year. You're going to hell on one of them.
Yeah, I just don't know if they have enough draft capital to go up and get Malik Willis, because I know Tomlin would love to have Willis, I think, but Oh, Desmond Ritter's kind of rising up the boards. It seems a lot of people think he was like a slam dunk first round pick. Before he was kind of like more like second round pick. We were talking about, but
I'm really shocked.
That always happens.
Yeah,
that always happens in the draft.
The combine, the pro day, like he like rose up somehow. It's like,
but the crazy thing is, he was always like. I remember looking at early draft boards last year, and they were looking at him as the third quarterback available. So I was always wondering what changed, because he did pretty good at Cincinnati this year. I mean, they're not in that college football playoff without him playing well.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I remember those mock drafts, like you mentioned about he was the first round pick, and then he had a great season this year, and then somehow he fell to second round, borderline first late round pick kind of. But it seems like he's back up there now, so I don't know. I mean, do you think the Steelers will pull the trigger and get him?
He was the guy that I looked at. It's like if Pickett and Willis are gone, you get him. You focus on a better pick at this time and hope that he drops into the second round.
Right.
But
I think
they're looking at the second strongest arm, if you want to talk about this, is Carson Strong in terms of that. Malik Willis has all the other physical gifts to make him an athletic freak, but Carson Strong also is 1, big, 2, has big arm. But I don't know, in this league he's the quarterback that you want.
What's his 40 time? So he's like one of the big bulgy.
He's one of the big boys like this. I think
he's like a big boy that don't move but got a strong arm.
He's what we would probably put Mason Rudolph in.
He's Mason Rudolph with a stronger arm.
Yeah,
he's
Carson Strong 40 time. Let's see.
He's pretty mobile though.
I think every quarterback in terms of this league has some bit of mobility. He's 4'8'1".
No, not terrible.
For a traditional quarterback.
Off the defender, you ain't gotta go. I'm not looking for a quarterback to be Vic. I just need a quarterback to slide in, slide out to evade pass rushers and get the ball out. That's good enough for me.
I mean, the one thing about Strong that you look at it, this guy had, maybe compared to the rest of these guys outside of Ritter and Corral, he was the one that had consistency. In 2019, he joined Nevada and he performed well, passing for 2,335 yards in 10 games. 2020, he puts up 2,858 yards and won the Mountain West Offensive Player of the Year. In 2021, he puts up 4,175 passing yards, 36 touchdowns, a completion percentage of 70%, and was third in yards per attempt at 8. Mountain West Offensive Player of the Year. And when you think about that, guys who won the Mountain West Player of the Year were guys that, ironically, they wanted to compare to Kenny Pickett in Andy Dalton and Derek Carr.
Yeah.
So, if you're looking for consistency and if you want to get a quarterback later so you can potentially see if next year hits different in terms of quarterbacks, Strong could be a good choice for you.
So you saying like you would draft him basically in the second round, and possibly if it works, it works. But if you find a way, if you find yourself at like 5-12 or something like that, and you get an opportunity to get a quarterback, you can draft over.
Yeah, I mean it's similar to the situation with Washington, though they drafted 2 quarterbacks in the same year with Griffin and Kirk Cousins. But I mean, sometimes if you get your guy, you get your guy. So if he's the guy in that round that you want, you get him. And we could cry and boo-hoo all about it. A lot similar to what they did last year with Najee Harris. If it works out in the end, everybody's going to have a lot less to say about it. that's negative, at least. But yeah, that's the annual quarterback talk of the day for us because, of course, quarterback rules all in the NFL. Guys, you got anything else before we finish up?
No, I don't have anything.
I'm good.
So
I'm just glad to reach 100 episodes. Thank you for following us. Follow me at B Walker to Dawn. I want more than the Twitter followers that I have. I need to have it increased. So,
speaking of which, what are we going to be looking forward for potentially the next 100 with the Renegade Blitz? We had a plan for a guest with the 100th podcast, but those fell through, and we felt like we needed to talk to you with everything going on and so much more coming on the horizon. So what else are we looking forward to, guys?
I got a guy coming through. He's gonna be coming through. He's just it's Easter time. He's a man of faith, but I think he will be a good guest for us. Somebody that follows us very well and who is in tune with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And he is fam. He knows my family. And we're just saying we have some guests coming up that was going to give us good insight on the team, who follows the team, and that's basically what I had to say about that subject. But
What about you, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, we're always looking for people. So, I mean, I'm looking. I have a couple ideas in mind. So, hopefully we could bring it to you. I hope you guys enjoy it. We're always looking to, bring interesting people on to talk about the Steelers.
Yeah, it's been an exciting run for us, and hoping to continue it for many more years to come. And you never know what comes up on the horizon. But of course, as I said, follow Brandon at BWalkerToDawn. Follow Chris Ward at CWard_94. Follow myself at Prez_Ty Polk. Of course, also follow the Blitzburg account at RBlitzPod and at Blitz_Berg for the big account. And of course, the videos account. What is that, Chris? Sorry, I lost track.
We haven't been really using it as much, but I think it's at Blitz Videos. Capital B, capital V.
So yes, of course, follow the videos account where we hope to avoid copyright strikes in the future because, man, that just really puts a bummer on all of us. But regardless, thank you so much for supporting us through the 100 episodes. Thank you for supporting all the accounts. Thank you for allowing us to keep on going and at least allowing us to have freedom to continue voicing our thoughts about the Steelers because apparently you guys like it. That's always important to be liked. But, of course, I'm Ty Polk. That's Chris Ward. That's Brandon Walker. You have been listening to the Renegade Blitz, and once again, thank you so much for 100 episodes, and here's to another 100 more.
Thank you for listening to the Renegade Blitz podcast. Follow us on Twitter at Renegade Blitz, at RBlitzPod, and at Blitz Videos. Read articles on RenegadeBlitz.com. Like us on Facebook and subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast app. The Renegade Blitz podcast is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, and wherever else you can listen to podcasts.